Okay, if I'm not mistaken, we're on top of Pei Aleph. Ikad Amri. Looks like it's like 7 lines down or something. Okay, we thank Hashem. We're able to learn Torah every day. In this chus of learning, we should have the base of Migdash. For learning, Luli Nishmas, Zahav Golda Baspar from Yemen, and Hassan Otev Ben Bentzian, and for everyone that needs your for Shleima, David Ben Sarah, and who else? Rabbi Joan Senior. Okay. We learned in the Mishnah that we're learning about the craftsman, right? No, not about the craftsman. Yeah, we're learning about the craftsman. The craftsman that has the responsibility for the item, like a shemer sachar. But when he says that, come pick up your item, finish the work, so then that status goes down to a shemer. That's what we learned. Well, we have another Mishnah that says that if someone just wants to borrow an item, and he tells the lender of the item, he says, send it to me. So he's taking responsibility immediately from it when it's being sent. So if something happens to it, even before he receives it, he's already responsible. And then we said that the same, it gets lost a lot in the mail, right? Borrowing. Maybe the same thing. If he's the one that's making the shliach, he's saying that so it becomes under his jurisdiction right when it's from the time that it's sent. And the same thing applies to returning it. He's going to be chayiv as well. Okay, now there was a limitation on this last point that was said by Rav Chisda, Rav from Bar Papa, in the name of Rav Chisda, that said that's only if he's returning it during the time of borrowing. But if it's after the time of borrowing, he's returning it after when they made up him going to borrow it for a week. He returns it after the week, then he's already, that level goes down and he's not considered a shoyel. What is he exactly? The Gemara is going to discuss. But he's not considered a shoyel. Problem is that this seems to contradict what we said in our Mishnah, because our Mishnah said that when he tells him, take what's yours, come and take it. I don't want to be by the craftsman. By the craftsman, he says, I don't want to be a shemer anymore. Come pick it up. So then he's not responsible. He goes to a shemer chinam. But if he just says, I'm finished, it didn't say that his status goes down. So over here, when he's saying that he's finished, or when we know that he's finished borrowing, the status goes down. But when it came to the craftsman saying that he's finished, the status didn't go down. Only if he says, I don't want to be a shemer anymore, pick it up. The Gemara answer to that, the Gemara said no. The Gemara said that really, even if he says that I'm finished, the same thing would apply. So why do you tell me that case? Come pick it up, because you wanted to tell me that you're still a shemer chinam, even though you don't want to be a shemer anymore, but you're still a shemer. Okay. Ikad Amri, those that have the same pieces of the puzzle. The Mishnah by us, the Mishnah about the Shayel, the statement of Rav Chisda, but they rearrange it into a different pattern. We're going to do this with Ikad Amri, or we're going to do it in Punamar Bar Maremar is going to do this as well. Also rearrange the pieces of the puzzle, and you come out with the same thing, but it's just either you put it as a question, you put it as a contradiction, an answer, or a limitation.
But so far, the lender is always in the superior position. It seems so far.
The lender can say that.
I mean, in the sense that the risk of loss is on the borrower as soon as he sends it to him, and until it comes back to his hand.
Right.
Yeah. So far.
Except by the craftsman, when the craftsman said, I'm done, so then the lender of this has responsibility now to get it and make sure nothing happens to it. Goes down to a shemer chinam level.
Yeah. But there's no aspect of Gemilas Chesed with a Uman, like there is with a lender. Is there?
By the lender, what's the Gemilas Chesed? That he did you a favor and therefore your responsibility goes up? Is that what you mean? Because he lent it.
Because I think a lot of the rules are the same for a lender or for a lender of an object, as for a lender of money, as for tzedakah. I think a lot of those rules are, like who has priority, who you would lend to.
Oh. Interesting. Let's see what you're saying. So you're saying that wouldn't apply to a craftsman?
Yeah, I mean, logically, he's different. I don't know if it applies, but it would.
I don't know about that. That's interesting.
Okay.
They always tell you to hire a Jewish worker, except for people with experience. Okay. Ikadamri. Those that say this differently. It says, Amar Rav Nachman Bar Papa. Rav Nachman Bar Papa says, no, Rav Nachman Bar Papa, he was the one that asked the question in the last version. He says, Apananami Tanina, exactly what you learned in the Mishnah is what we have in another Mishnah. Exactly what you learned in the Mishnah in Hashayel, where the borrower that when the time's up, he has to. So that when he returns it, in Rav Chiz's statement. Okay, so we learned that in the Mishnah. It's in our Mishnah. It says, that once the person says that I don't want to be a watchman anymore, it goes down to a Asher Mechinam. And Rav Nachman, his understanding of this is, Rav Nachman Bar Papa, his understanding is, my love, who I didn't gemarted. That even if he doesn't say, I don't want to be a Shemer anymore, he doesn't say, pick it up. He just says, I'm done. So once the Shmira, once the guarding is done, then the obligation goes down. Exactly what Rav Chizda said. The Gemara says, like, it's not necessarily a proof, because Tola Shalach Shani, when he says, take it, that's different than saying, I'm done. He says, come pick it up, is different than saying, I'm finished. Yeah. Collateral is going to come up in shortly. Let's wait for that. Huna mar bar merema kameder ravina rami mastisna adadi. Huna mar breder bar merema in front of Ravina, he took these two mishnayos and he posed them as contradictions. Mishani, and he answered it up. Tanan, in our Mishnah it says by the craftsman when the craftsman says, I'm finished the work, come pick up your item, bring the money, he's a Shemrechinim. But in the Gemartiv, the same thing would apply if he says, I'm finished the work. Even if he leaves out, come pick it up. But the contradiction is, it says, the borrower says, send it to me. And he sent it, but something happened along the way. So the borrower is chayiv. And the same thing applies when he returns it. He's going to be chayiv. The borrower is going to be chayiv. Problem is, why is he going to be chayiv? Once he's finished it, he's not responsible. Just like by the craftsman, he says, I'm finished. His responsibility goes down. So by the borrower also, the responsibility should go down once he's finished borrowing. Mashani, the Gemara answered, so the Mashani is Huna, Marbri, the Maremar. He quotes, I'm a Rafam Bar Papa, I'm Chizlai Shano, Shefse B'Teicha Meshilasa. Avalachi Meshilasa is going to be Pata. There's no question from there because it's exactly the same thing. That's only if it's during the time of borrowing that he's going to be Chayav, but if it's after the time of borrowing, exactly like when the craftsman says, I'm finished the work, but there he's going to be Pata. Okay. Ibailahu. We didn't describe in these statements that we're saying before from Rav Chizda that the status changes when the borrowing time is up. The status changes when the person says, I'm finished. We didn't say exactly. Yeah, actually, when he says, I'm finished the work, or he says, Tala Shalach, over there we said he's a Shemrechinam. Or by the borrower, we didn't say that what he is he a Shemrechinam or not, once his time is up. Bailo, they had a question in the yeshiva. Patim Yishayel v'chayiv k'shemer sachar. Igil m'shemer sachar nami leihavi. Once the time of borrowing is up and he's returning the item, and something happens to it then. So he's exempt from einus. He's exempt from unpreventable circumstance happens. What about from stolen and lost? Is he exempt from that as well? Is he a shomer sacher? Is he a paid watchman? Or is he a shomer chinumy? Is he a non-paid watchman? A non-paid watchman would only be responsible for negligence. So our question is, what is this person's status after the time of borrowing is up and he's returning the item? Amar Meimar says, Mistabra, it's logical to say that he's still responsible as a paid watchman, which means he'll be responsible if it's stolen or lost. Because he had benefit from this item, because he borrowed it, Mahana Havis, he has to give back benefit. He has to take a little bit more responsibility over the item because the person did him this favor of lending him the item. So that means he would be chayav on Gneva Vapid. Tani Kavaseda Meimar, we have a support from a brisa to this answer of a Meimar. It says, someone takes utensils from a craftsman's house and he wants to send them to his in-laws as a gift. Maybe he's not married yet. He wants to find the grace in their eyes. He's going to send a nice gift. And he says to the craftsman, if they like it, they take it. And I'll pay for it. Yeah, this is sort of like consignment. Sort of. And so it's no, it's not consignment, but he says, I'm not sure if it's if they like it. I don't know if it fits in their house, if it's something that they're going to appreciate. If they take it, then I'll pay for it. If not, then even though I'm not going to buy it, I'm going to give it back to you, but I'll still pay you for the benefit that I got from them knowing that I'm so generous and I tried to give them a gift. Little tevasana, a little token of appreciation. So, Venansu, of course, every story, what could go wrong. Venansu, an accident happens. But if it's on the way there, then he's chayiv.
He's chayiv.
Yeah, because he almost bought it. And it's basically like you bought it, just with the ability to return it. That's really why he's chayiv. So you have to pay for it. Well, the craftsman says, I'm selling it to you. The guy says, I'm buying it if. So does that mean he's buying it? Or does that mean he's not buying it? So we're looking at it that it means he's buying it. But if, so then it's a way out. But really he's buying it. Which means he's totally responsible. Yeah, he's buying it. But it's the status of as if he's taken full responsibility at that point. Right. Yeah. Hill is saying that I shouldn't mix in the purchasing part. 1 second. The reason why I'm mixing that in is because Rashi says once they set a price, it's considered purchased in his hands until we know that it's not purchased. So that's how it's taught in Baba Basra.
He knows the default price.
Yeah, he knows the price already. This would be what happens if someone takes a car for a test drive.
No.
That's a different story.
Had that test drive. That very car was made for him to test it.
No. He wants to buy a car. He takes it for a test drive in an accident. Right. So 30 days money back. You buy something online. You could send it back. But let's say an accident happens to it in your house. It falls on the floor and shatters. They say 30 days.
Send back the pieces.
That's what people would do. But I don't know if that's it. Right. So that's what we're saying also. We're saying like it's a 30-day return policy, but if it breaks, then you can't return it. That's basically what we're saying. But if it's on the way back, then he's going to be pater. Then he's only like a shemer sachar. So in other words, because he got benefit from it, we don't lower his status down to a shemer chinam. So for sure, if there's a borrower here that got benefit and he's just returning it after the time of borrowing, so the same thing, we're not going to lower his status down to shemer chinam because he got benefit. He should be giving back benefit to the person by taking a higher level of responsibility. This brisa is a support to Meimar's teaching that on the way that when you're returning it, although you're not a shoyel, but you're still a shemer sachar. Oh. Returning a borrowed item after the time of borrowing, you're still a paid watchman, although you're not a borrower anymore.
So he doesn't have to.
You're not responsible for unpreventable circumstances. Who gavra? There was a person desavan lechamel lechavre. Let me say, is this wine or is this a donkey? You have a donkey there? What do you have? Donkey. The donkey. He sold the donkey to his friend. Amalei, he said, it has to be. I'm bringing this to such and such a place. Actually, it could be one. Yeah, if it gets sold over there, then good. If you lie, and if it doesn't get sold, I'm going to return it. Let's see if it sells. He went and it didn't sell. On the way back, an accident happened. Rav Nachman comes in front of Rav Nachman. Rav Nachman says he's chayiv. Now, if you think about this, he was on his way back. He should only be a shemer sachar. Shemer sachar would be exempt from unpreventable circumstances. It says an accident happened. It wasn't negligence or it wasn't stolen or this. It was an accident. Rav Nachman said chayiv. So Esvei Rabba Rav Nachman, or Rava maybe. Rava asked Rav Nachman, Nensu bahalicha chayiv b'chazor pater. He said that brisa that says that when the person takes the gift to his in-laws, it says on the way there he's chayiv, on the way back he's pater because he's only a paid watchman on the way back. Here also, this fellow took the donkey. On the way back is when the accident happened. He should be exempt. This person's returning is like he's going. Wow. My time, what's the reason? Why does Rav Nachman say that? Svaru, he says it's logical. If you would find a buyer on the way back, he wouldn't sell it to him. So therefore, the whole process here is all considered on the way. By the in-laws, went to the in-laws. On the way back, it's not by the in-laws anymore. They didn't want it. So he's returning it. But over here, although he's returning it, it's on the way back, but any time along the way, he would still sell it. If someone says, guard for me this and I'll guard for you, I'll watch your item, you watch my item, I'll watch your item. So then he's a shemer sachar, he's a paid watchman because each one is paying the other one to do the watching by watching the item. Gemara asks the question, this is considered shmir b'bailim. The Gemara is introducing over here something that we may have had in passing before, but the big sugya is coming up in a few weeks. In Perek HaShoyel, actually in just 2 weeks. There's a discussion, there's a law, an interesting law, that if a borrower that has all these responsibilities to protect the item, if the owner of the item is doing work at the same time that the person is borrowing it for the borrower, like the ideal case would be, can I borrow your ladder because I need to paint my house? The guy says, sure, you can borrow it. And let me come and help you with your whatever, with your painting or with your anything that you have going on. So when he comes over, he's doing work for the borrower. The owner of the item is doing work for the borrower. If something happens to the ladder at that time, so he's exempt for sure from accidents. He's exempt also from, even though the owner's not watching it, but because he was doing work for him at that time, it's called shmir b'bailim. The owner is coming along with it. Sort of you're borrowing the item plus the owner. So then you're exempt from, that's a law. Anyway, if negligence happens, it's a machlaikas. no, maybe if he's supervising it, because then that would change things a little bit. But this halacha that we're discussing is the owner's there. The problem that we're asking now is if you say, watch for me and I'll watch for you, that means while I'm watching your item, you're doing work for me by watching my item.
This is not the same thing as Balav Imo.
Yeah, balavime. This is the worst. Yeah, balavime.
So it's not just that he's there; that he's actually doing something too.
Yeah, the idea. I don't think he even has to be there. I think even if he's just doing something, that's good enough. Even if he's doing it in his own house.
And if he's there but he's not doing something,
That's what Hill is asking. I'm not sure.
oh, okay.
So, yeah. So do you remember that? Remember where it said that? Could be. Okay. Rav Papa, to answer this question, he says, the answer is, guard for me today, I'll guard for you tomorrow. It's not doing it. He's not working for him at the same time that this person's borrowing it. Okay, that's the teretz. Taner Rabbanan, stood in a brisa. Shmerli v'eshmerlach, watch for me and I'll watch for you. Hashileni v'ashilcha, lend me and I'll lend you. Right? Shmerli v'ashilcha, guard for me and I will lend you. Hashileni, lend me v'eshmerlach and I'll guard for you. Kulan nasir shemer sachar zelazeh, all of them become paid watchmen. Each one is getting paid for doing the watch by the other person doing whatever it is for him. The Gemara asks, the same question. It's a paid. Why is he considered a paid watchman and he's going to be chayiv for gneva aveda? This is considered shmira b'bailam, that he's watching it together with the owner, coming with him, coming with the item. Rav Papa gives the same teretz that he's watching it today. The other person's going to watch for him tomorrow. So that's way. It's not that he's borrowing the item together with the owner. The owner is going to be borrowed the following day. I'm sorry. Hanu ahulai. There were these probably soap makers or something, maybe perfume makers. They worked with detergent dealers. What do you have over there?
Ice plant dealers.
What is ice plant? You know? Oh, I thought it was aloe. It sounds like the word aloe. No?
There's people who make and sell soap from ice plants. Similar plants for which soap is produced.
What do they say there?
Here's a picture of an ice plant.
Oh wow, that's nice. Nice blossom.
Oh, and then
The aloe. Okay. So there were these detergent makers or whatever. The kol yaim havi afile chad minayo. Every day, one of them would bake for them. Bake a cake? I don't know. They would cook. No, I think it means they would make food for them. So one day, they told one of them, bake the bread. Zilafilan, go bake for us. They told one of them. They would take turns. They told one, go bake. Maybe it wasn't his day. And Amalahu, he said, okay, naturally glimai, but watch my garment for me while I go. My coat. Watch my cloak. Adasa, till he came back, Pasha Bavigna, they forgot about the cloak, they left it there, they were negligent, and it got stolen. Wow. Well, what's the case? They're Shemer, what are they? They're Shemer Sachar, because he's doing something for them while they watch. They're paid watchmen, right? Also, they come to Rav Papa, Chayvinu, Rav Papa says they have to pay. Okay, makes sense. Amrulay, Rabbanan Rav Papa, but the sages said to Rav Papa, why do these people have to pay? It's negligence, and the owner's doing work for them. At the same time that they were watching it, he was baking for them. That's Shmira B'Bailam. He was watching together with, they were watching together with the owner doing work. Ichsif, Rav Papa got embarrassed. Made a mistake. right? They should be potter. But it turned out that it really wasn't a mistake because the Hushaita Shichra Havikashasi, because at that time the person, instead of baking the cake, was drinking beer. He stopped on the way to the bakery in the pub, and he was drinking beer. And meanwhile, they left his item. It got stolen.
Wasn't really work for exchange for work. And the only reason why they were responsible is because of the name.
Okay. Hillel is adding in an important point that we're assuming over here that it's not really Shemer Sachar, it's really a Shemer Chinam, because it was the person's day to bake anyway. So he wasn't doing work for them. He wasn't doing extra work for them. He was he was just doing what he was supposed to do on that day. So they were Shemer Chinam, and the reason why they're going to be Chayev is because it's a Pshia. Gemara now says that it's but it was Bebailim, so they should be exempt because he was doing work at the same time. But the Gemara says no, he wasn't doing work. Instead of doing work, he was drinking beer. This all makes sense that if we would say this whole question that they should be exempt, as if one knows why did Rav Papa get embarrassed, is if we say that negligence when the owner's doing work is exempt, right? We said Shmira Bebailim is potter. If you borrow an item together with the owner, and an accident happens, then you're going to be exempt. Let's say it gets stolen, that's also exempt. But let's say you're negligent, should you be exempt over there? So that's a machlekes. So if you say Pshia B'Bailim is exempt, that's why Rav Papa got embarrassed because maybe he made a mistake in the psak. But according to the opinion that says chayev anyway, why was he embarrassed? They have to pay anyway. Turns out that day wasn't his day. They said to him, bake for us anyway. He said to them, that you should watch my garment while I bake you, which basically turns him into a Shemer Sachar. And Adasa Ignav, and then it got stolen, not through Pshia. You have to change the detail over there. They weren't the Shemer Chinim, they were Shemer Sachar. And it got stolen regular, like being stolen. And then everyone holds that if it's stolen, that you're going to be exempt. Just 1 second. Adjust it. Okay. So what happened then is the rabbi said to Rav, the sage said to Rav Papa, but the owner is with them, so they should be exempt. And that's why he was embarrassed because he's the Shemer Sachar, and it was regular stolen. But it turned out that it was actually drinking beer. So what the Gemara switched over here from the beginning to the end is if he was a Shemer Chinam and it was Pshia, or if he was a Shemer Sachar and it was regular Gnei Vaveda. Was he a non-paid watchman with these fellows, non-paid watchmen, because it was the person's day to bake anyway? So he wasn't doing anything extra to pay for their watching. And then, so why should they be chayev? That was because they were negligent. And the Gemara switches and says, no, it was not his day, and he was paying for them to watch. And he was a Shemer Sachar. They were a Shemer Sachar. They were paid watchmen. And how did it get stolen? It was without negligence, and therefore they really should be exempt when he was doing work for them, if not for the fact that the fellow was drinking beer. It's not negligent. Yeah, I forget who the story was with, but they tried to test the Rav once. They made up a question and they sent them the question. They made up a scenario. They sent it to him, and he answered wrong. He got the answer wrong. So he said, but one thing they told him he got the answer wrong. He said, okay, but the story was not a true story. It never happened. It wasn't the real thing. It was all a fake. They say it's true. How do you know? He says because when it comes to the halacha, the Eibishter gives you the siyata d'shmaya to help to answer correctly. The fact that I got it wrong means that it wasn't the real story anyway. It's just a test. Yeah, tell that to the rabbi that's giving you smicha. Okay. Hanu Beitrei Davi Kamaska Borcha. There were two people that were walking on the road. One of them was tall and one was short. I don't know why that information is significant, but anyway. Aricha Rachav Chamra. The tall one was riding on a donkey. And he had a sudden is a sheet, probably. Gutza, the short person, Michsi Sarbali, he was wearing a coat, and it's made out of wool. V'kamaski Bakari, and he's walking on foot. Matalinara, when he came to the river, Shakle Lesarbala, he took off his coat. Vaisvil Iluye Chamra, he put it on top of the donkey. He didn't want it to get wet, so the donkey was taller. Shakle Lesadine, and he took the sheet of that person. And he covered himself with the sheet. So he doesn't mind getting this fellow's sheet wet, but he doesn't want to get his own coat wet, right? Shatfu Ma'ila Sadina. Turns out that the water washed away the sheet. Now he's left there without clothing on, but he wants to get his coat. So he's probably going to wear the coat. Asalakami de Rava, but he comes to Rava. I hope dressed. Chayve, Rava says that he has to pay for the sheet. Amalei Rabbanan the Rava. The rabbi say to Rava, Amai Shila B'Bailami. 1 second. This is Shila B'Bailam. Why is it Shila B'Bailam? He borrowed it together while this person riding the donkey was carrying his coat. The donkey driver was carrying his coat while he was borrowing his sheet. Ichsif. Rafa was embarrassed. That the fellow didn't know that he borrowed the sheet, and the fellow didn't know that he was carrying the coat. So it wasn't Shmir B'Bailam. The guy he didn't know he was doing work for him. Okay. Who Gavra? There was a person, he rented a donkey to his friend. Amalei says to him, Chazi, this is a more classic story. Make sure, don't go on that river. Don't go on that along the path along the river. There's always flooding over there. There's always water. It gets slippery or whatever. Zil Borcha de Narish Lekamaya. Go on the dry road of Narish over there. There's no water. Azil Borcha de Narpkite. Of course, the guy takes the road that he's not supposed to go on. And the Mischamra and the donkey dies. He comes back. Amar, he says, in Borcha de Narpkite Dasli. This starts off with, I have to tell you the truth. First of all, I went on the wrong road. Okay? I'm going to be honest. I went on the wrong road. However, but you should just know that you were wrong. There was no water there. How did it die? It died some other way. Amalei, Rava. Do I have a pencil? I made a mistake in my Thomas. I just need an eraser. Amalei Rava, thank you. Amalei Rava. So Rava says to him, Mali L'Shaker, he could have lied. Could have said, Iboy Amalei, Ana Baruch Dinar says he could have said, I went on another road. If he wasn't saying the truth. If there was the problem was the water, he could have lied. He said, he could have lied. The fact that he's saying the truth tells me that he's saying the truth. If he wanted to lie, he would have said something better. Partial admission by what? What is the partial admission? Oh, Metzia Daf. That's what he's saying. By the Metzia Daf, he should have had a migu, and that's why the Torah makes him swear, because they don't want him to do that, right? But over here, what we're saying is that if you wanted it to lie, you could have said that he went on another thing. See, this is interesting because it's telling me that the reason why he would be chayiv is because there's water there. If there's no water there, he'd be patur, even though he violated the rule. That's what basically Rav is saying. That if we can trust him that there's no water, he would be exempt. We didn't say that before. Before, when we learned this, we said once you violate the rules, then, but we said that was machlekes, right? You become a ganav. We said once you violate the rules, become a ganav, you're chayav for everything. Now we're not saying that. No, it's interesting. Well, Abaya doesn't accept what Rabba says. Amalei Abaya says, he says you don't trust a migu. Did I explain what migu is? Migu is if someone wants to lie, you would have said something better. So it must be that what he's saying now is the truth. So he said, but that concept of if you wanted to lie, you would have said something better. That doesn't tell us anything. If there's edim that are telling us differently. Now, if I have a migu versus edim, the edim win. Now it turns out that there's no witnesses here that say that there was water. But because there's always water there, that's as if there's witnesses that there's water there. Now he has a migu that says there's no water, but the edim, the anan sadi, it's called, we are witnesses. So there's always water there. Tells us is stronger than that, and we say that there was water there, and we don't trust him, and therefore he's guilty. Wow. But that one point that we're missing here is, but he violated the instructions, and so he should be a ganav just from violating the instructions. He should be chayav on everything, even if there's no water. That point maybe that wasn't conditional. Maybe that's how we'll have to answer that. It wasn't conditional when he gave him those instructions. They don't comment in the article. I mean, it's a logical.
The water. Even if he says, I want to take that path because there's water there. But, from...
Oh, they asked us in a number. They say, this does not contradict the law that a shomer that the shomer does not, who disobeys the owner's instructions is liable to pay even for unavoidable mishaps, because that law applies only where the loss of the entrusted item can be attributed to the lack of compliance with the owner's instructions. In this case, however, the only difference between the Koid River and the Nerish River was the presence of water. Indeed, the owner specified the presence of water as the reason for avoiding the Koid River. Therefore, since the shomer claims that the animal's death had nothing to do with the water, he should not have to pay. That's the Ritva. Let's see Taisvis back on page 78. Taisvis apparently mentioned that earlier.
But Rabbi,
Yeah.
the idea of a partial admission is that you pay partially, right? Therefore, like if you do a partial admission that ends up the same result as a total rejection, then what's so good about the partial admission?
Right. By the partial admission, what Hillel mentioned, the partial admission, you have to make an oath. But over there, the Gemara says that really he would like to deny everything, but he's not able to deny everything because he doesn't have the guts to do that. The person lent money, and now he's going to deny it. He can't deny everything. So he doesn't have that real partial. He doesn't have the migu. So what does he want to do? He wants to say, so therefore, he can't admit to everything because he doesn't have the money right now. So what he's doing is he's admitting to part of it, which he has the money for, and then and that's how he's going to get away with this. The Torah says, no, take an oath. We don't want you doing that trick. That was the partial admission story.
But then he pays partially, right?
He has to take an oath that he doesn't owe anymore. That's the might of a mixus is chayav shvua. He has to take an oath. But the concept of migu is a concept of trust. That if the person would have been lying, he would have said a different story. So it must be now he's saying the truth. So,
But it's the same result if he was lying, right? Like he pays nothing.
if he's lying, yeah, he would be exempt if he lies, and so therefore we trust him now when he's saying the truth, that it's actually true, right? If someone says you owe me money, but there's no document, the person could say either I don't know what you're talking about, or they can say I paid you back. So we trust him that he paid back, because he could have claimed I don't even know who you are. We never had such an arrangement, right? So over here we're trusting him that there was no water there, because he could have said I never even went on that road. That's what Rava says. And Abaye says, no, if you're trying to get proof that there was no water there, it's not going to work to have amigo, because we know there's always water there. There may have not been, but the amigo doesn't give us that trust. Because you could have said something better, it doesn't change what's the assumed status of that area. Okay. Shemar li v'amalei hanach lefanei shemechinam. If a person says, God for me, and the guy says, okay, put it down. He's a shemechinam. He's not a paid watchman, it's just a shemechinam. Amar Ravuna says, Amalei hanach lefanecha. He says, don't put it before me. He says, put it before you. Leave it in front of you. Then he's not taking any responsibility. Don't say put it before me, put it in front of me. He didn't say put it next to my seat. He said leave it next to your seat. They asked the question in the yeshiva, hanach stam, if he just says put it down. The guy says, can you watch this for me? And you say put it down. What does that mean? Well, Tashima. He says, put it before me, he's a shemechinim. Hastama, but if he doesn't say that, if he just says put it down, but like Lum is probably nothing. The Gemara says, Adarabba, on the contrary. But Rav Huna says, if you say put it in front of you, like you keep it, that's nothing. But if you say put it down, you don't say in front of you, then maybe that is something. Then you're probably a non-paid watchman. We can't prove anything from this because we have contradictory implications. Let's say that there's a machlekes tanaim if he just says put it down. This is talking about someone that puts into someone else's property either jugs or an animal or fruits, and the owner of the property's animal destroys whatever was put in, either breaks the jugs or eats the fruits or gores the animal. So that person, the owner of the courtyard is chayiv. The owner of the courtyard is chayiv. Now the Gemara over there says that the person said, "Come in," or he said, "Bring it in, bring it in." He didn't say exactly, "Put it down here, put it down there." He said, "Bring it in." Well, in his chayiv, Rebbe says, he didn't say, "I'm going to watch it." He just said, "Bring it in." So he's not chayiv. Turns out we have a machlekes. Tanakama says that bring it in, it's chayiv. And Rebbe says, no, he's not chayiv unless he says, put it before me. So you see, if he just says, put it down, that would be a machlekes, Tanakama and Rebbe. Rebbe would say, you're exempt. The Gemara says, Mimai, how do you know that this is exactly the same case? Maybe the rabbis say that you're chayiv over there because the courtyard is a place that's easy to watch, has a gate around it. When he says bring it in, he says bring it in so I can watch it. But over here, when it's in the marketplace and the guy says, can you watch this for me? And you say, just put it down. Shuka, the market, that's not a place to watch. He says, put it down, you sit and you watch it, is what he meant to say. In the marketplace. Inami, or you could say differently. That's only over there by the courtyard. But when he says come in, he needs permission even to come in. So when he says come in, he doesn't mean to watch it. He means just to come in, because you have to knock on the door. When he gave him permission, that's to come in. But when he said about watching it, he wants you to watch it. You can just come in and watch it, and you watch it yourself. But over here, Hanach va'ana mintera ka'amalei. When he says put it down, obviously he means that put it down and I'll watch it. Because if you would think it means that you put it down and you watch it, to put it down, you need permission from someone else in the marketplace that you're going to put something down. You don't need permission for that. So it must be that when he was telling to put it down, he meant that he was going to watch it. So basically, from this Mishnah over there in Bava Kama about bringing produce or whatever it is into someone else's courtyard, we can't prove either way. Either Rebbe holds one way regarding this, or the Rabbanan hold the other way. There's no proof from that. Okay, let's leave it over here. Tomorrow, we spoke about the mashkan that's coming up.